Hello, 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 everyone. This is Felicia Jones, aka Diamond J. I am coming to you live, and we are coming to you live with our guest Twila Be Good, and she is up in here in the room today. I am so excited to have Twila here. So I'm going to introduce my guest. For those of you that know me, you know that you are joining in on the Diamond J's Beyond the Glitter talk show. And we have our guest. We've been talking about relationships. And so we have our guest here, Twila Be Good. And she's actually a certified, now get this. She is a certified clinical sexuality coach and owner of Taste of Sex Intimacy Coaching. A Taste of Intimacy Coaching is what is her name of her business. She coaches couples and individuals on how to be more intimate and sensual, and how to have a more sensual sex life. So, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us and being on the show. I appreciate that, for taking the time to come talk to us. And as you know, we actually have the series going on, transitioning from girlfriend to wife. So I'm hoping that you can give us a little bit of insight on what it takes to do that, and also having a successful relationship. So you'll be able to give us some insight on that as well. So let's get started. Tell me again, how did you come on this journey? What inspired you to become a sexologist in this field? What inspired you?
Yes, sure. Thank you so much for having me on your show. So I
You're welcome.
started this journey 3.5 years ago. I started out doing erotic poetry and was, mixing a little bit of fantasy and reality into my poems. And I loved the feedback that I would get, especially when I was talking about being kinky and BDSM. And so I decided that I could make this into a business. And so during COVID, I did some research on sex education and sex coaching. And so I got my certification, and fast forward, here I am. And now I'm in school getting my master's for social work so I can become a sex therapist. And so my
Yay.
purpose in all of this is to work with individuals and couples on building those relationships, and what does it look like to have a healthy and sensual sex life, but at the same time, working with them with the foundations of what it means to have a healthy relationship. So that is what I do.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, can you tell us what has been the biggest challenge in sex today, and what in sex health today? What has that been? What has been the biggest challenge for that?
I would say the biggest challenge overall is communication, effectively communicating to your partner, effectively communicating your needs and wants, even in the dating stage. What does that need to sound like? What does that need to look like? And, we don't need to make a blanket statement and say communication. It needs to be the effective communication. And what does that truly mean and look like? So I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to effectively communicate with your partner. And that
Mhm.
goes to nonverbal communication as well.
Okay.
So, yeah,
All right.
that would
So,
be the big thing.
cool. So go ahead, let us know what you're going to get into, your five tips, and lead us into that, and tell us what these five tips are for a successful relationship.
Sure. So, for a successful relationship, the 5 tips are, like I said, effectively communicating with your partner. And that goes to tone of voice, that is listening to understand, not
Mhm.
listening to be heard. That goes into your nonverbal, your body language. You know, does your face express some type of attitude, or the eyes rolling,
Right.
um, when you are communicating? Also, effective communication means truly understanding your partner, saying things like, what I heard you say is this,
Mhm.
am I correct? Or is that right? And giving them the chance to respond. And truly listening, waiting your turn to actually speak and not over talking them. Okay. The other
Mhm.
tip is showing gratitude and appreciation and
Okay.
saying, I appreciate you. In little things to show gratitude and appreciation. Okay. Also, respect is a huge thing. How can you respect your partner? And that involves honesty. And then intimacy, incorporating intimacy in the relationship, physical touch, spiritual intimacy, intellectual, and emotional. So, all of these things we need to do are the ingredients, I think, for a healthy relationship. So, it's effective communication, intimacy, gratitude, showing that appreciation, and respect, honesty.
So when you talk about the effective communication,
Mhm.
everybody thinks that they can communicate effectively because everybody thinks that they, I talk, I have a good conversation, but
Right.
go into a little bit deeper than that because I think, even when I was out there in the dating scene,
Mhm.
um, these conversations ain't good. They ain't good. So they think that they're actually being able to communicate, and they're not. They don't communicate very well, at least from the men that I've talked to. They do not communicate very well at all. And it's almost like they don't know what to say. And I also caught myself, if I'm honest, that I didn't sometimes if they weren't the person that can pull the conversation and pull the conversation
Mhm.
along, then I wasn't talking. And I noticed that. But if they weren't able to talk, and I wasn't able to talk, then we really wasn't talking about nothing. We was just like, hey, what you doing, and how was your day?
Mhm.
That's as far as it got. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So, that right there is chemistry and connection. So, if there's no chemistry and if there isn't a connection, then it's going to be challenging to think of things to talk about because it's like trying to start a car, spark plugs, it's not sparking. It's like
Mhm.
misfiring. And so, in that particular scenario, and what I've seen and heard different singles say is that, some guys don't know how to hold a conversation. And I think
Uh-huh.
that goes back to, are the two of you compatible? Is there some type of chemistry there and a
Right.
connection? So, if you don't have that, then it's going to be challenging to try and talk to the person. Now, more so when you are, with this person, the chemistry is there, the connection is there. Now it comes back to, okay, how can we truly effectively talk to one another where we aren't talking over each other, where we are able to get our points across if there is a disagreement? How can I truly listen to what that person has to say? Am I being attentive to
Right.
them when they are talking? Effective communication also involves, when is it the right time to talk and bring up certain subjects too. So if you are having something that's on your mind or on your heart and you want to share this with that person, finding the right time to talk to them. It could be where you don't want to bring the subject up as they're going out the door for work. It's probably not the
Uh-huh.
right time. So you
Right.
want to be mindful of, when is it the right time to talk? What is your mood like? Do you have an attitude? That may not be the right time to talk. So, I
Okay.
think of the phrase halt. So it's like, are you hungry?
Okay.
Might not want to talk.
Oh.
A, attitude. Do you have an attitude? That might
Mm-hmm.
not be the right time to talk. L, are you ready to listen? Okay. And then,
Mm-hmm.
T, is it the right time?
What you said,
T,
halt, right? H A
halt.
U L T.
ALT. Mhm.
H L T. Halt. Okay.
Like halt, like let's stop.
Yeah.
So you want
What was the
to
T?
be mindful of that before you get ready to have this conversation with your partner. It could be the little things like when they get home from work and you're ready to share how your day was. You're ready to
Right.
find out, how was your day? My day was like this. Well, that may not be your partner's vibe. That may be,
Right.
the time that they need to decompress. So if
Right.
that is the case, going back to effective communication, for that person who wants some time to decompress, they need to be able to express that to their partner in the beginning stages and say, you know what, when I get home from work, I just like to, kind of relax for a few minutes
Right.
before I talk. That way everyone knows, he gets home or she gets home. They don't talk right then. It's no offense to me. That's just part of their persona. So it's like I'll give them, 5-10 minutes, however much time that they said that they need, and now we can talk about how our day was. So it's little things like that when it comes
Okay.
to communication.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what else should we know? What else should we know as far as you said the communication, the respect? You mentioned that. What about the intimacy? What should we know about that?
So intimacy, all of this goes back to expressing your needs and wants. So when it comes to intimacy, telling your partner where you like to be touched, even showing them how you like to be touched. Also, when it comes to intimacy, it's spending time with that person. What does that look like? Okay. Spending time could be a walk in the park. Spending time could be, reading maybe a book together, spending time could be watching your favorite show, just enjoying each other's company.
Right.
Intimacy, I tell my clients, you want to make the bedroom open and inviting for intimacy and sex. So I discourage having TVs in the bedroom because that's time.
Right.
Intimacy also looks like having those heart-to-heart conversations regarding finances, maybe the kids at the dinner table. Don't bring that into the bedroom. That energy can be not in the bedroom. You want to have these conversations in a different area of the house. So when you go into the bedroom, that's the time for sex, to be sensual. That's not the time to talk about kids and bills and finances, because at that point it changes the energy and the dynamic of the room.
Okay.
So all of that involves intimacy. And so when I'm talking to couples, I'm telling them, they can be intimate, taking a shower together, bathing each other, massaging each other. All of those are various forms of physical intimacy.
Okay. And I think I missed one. Because I have the communication, respect, intimacy, and did I miss one or two?
Gratitude.
Yes. Gratitude. Give us a little bit about the gratitude.
So gratitude and showing appreciation, they go hand in hand. So when it comes to gratitude, telling your partner, I'm thankful that you're in my life. I'm happy that you're in my life. I appreciate you. Actually saying those words. And then you can show it by just doing the little things, whatever it is that they like. Compliments go a long way, complimenting each other. But most importantly, what I have found out is, I'm talking to couples and the boyfriend or the husband, he's like, I compliment her. And I'll tell her, she looks good, or, I like her hair. And the first thing that she does, she will, deflect what he said. She will say, oh, no, you don't mean that.
Yeah.
Or he's complimenting her on her body. Oh, I'm fat, or I don't like this on my body, or you're just saying that. And you don't want to do that, because what happens is he's not going to continue to do that, because every time he compliments you, you turn around and you make it into something negative. So what you have to do is understand how to receive a compliment. And your partner compliments you, you say, you know what, babe, thank you. That made me feel great because I'm not really feeling my best today.
Wow.
So you have to switch it up.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good info. Good info. So did I miss one other one? I got communication, respect, intimacy, gratitude.
Honesty.
Girl, let's get into this honesty, because people are not telling the truth. They are not telling the truth. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So honesty, when you are in the dating stages or even in the relationship, you want to make sure that you are honest with your partner. This also goes in with respect. So making sure that, it may be somewhat challenging to be able to share whatever it is that you need to be honest about, but it's better to do that. Okay. Once again, all of this involves communication, finding the right time to, express yourself sharing when you need to be honest, making sure it's the right time. Okay. But respect
Mhm.
and honesty go hand in hand. Now, when you're dating, you want to ask certain questions to find out, is this person being truthful? Okay.
Right.
So you want to do your due diligence, finding
Okay.
out, uncovering more about this person as you're dating. And, when you think about it, dating doesn't have to be hard. If you find out that the person is dishonest, okay, just walk away, leave them alone.
Hmm. You that brings me to like the vetting process. How is
Mhm,
this the vetting process? I think that we don't do a good job at vetting.
mhm.
I, would you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah, I don't think that we do a good job because, and we talk about dating, and I think that people think they know how to date. And then you ask somebody, I think one of my friends asked his girl that he was dating, he's like, who taught you how to date? He was like, I don't know. I just do, She said, really, honestly, I don't even really know how to date. And I think that's a lot of us. We don't know how to date. How do you properly vet somebody? And what kind of questions should you be asking?
So, I think that overall, we don't know how to date. It starts with, are you even dateable? Would you
Right.
date you, knowing how you are, knowing how your personality is? It starts there. Are you likable? Are you friendly? Are
Mm-hmm.
you nice? Are you kind? Are you genuine? Are you sincere? So you have to have a heart to heart talk with yourself. Am I ready to date? It
Mm-hmm.
may not be the timing is not right for you to date. Okay. So you have to start there with self reflection and
Okay.
making sure that you are in a headspace where you are ready to date and meet people. Okay. Also, with
Mm-hmm.
that, when you are in the vetting process, you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions. And that could be, well, if you're looking for marriage, are you wanting to be married? Asking that person that, letting them know up front, I want to be married.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you're looking for? And if they say no, okay, we'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions you want to find out is, you as you continue to date and vet, do they want to have children?
Right.
If you have children, or if do you want to have more children? Okay. It could
Mm-hmm.
be that are you looking to date multiple people at the same time? You want to ask those questions, you know,
Right.
and you want to be honest with yourself as well. If that's something that you don't want to do and you want to date one person at a time, you need to let them know that. And if the two of you aren't on the same page, then you move on.
I think you bring up some good points because I think a lot of people, the one thing that you said was interesting because you got to have that heart to heart with yourself. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of people think highly of themselves and that they are, the best person to date. And
Right,
really, in true reality is that they're really not. Um,
right,
and
right,
then we have to really think about some of the things that we present, like you said, having that heart to heart conversation with ourselves and really truly being honest and asking those vetting questions, because I was like, oh wait, when I met Tony actually said, hey, look, this is who I am, this is where I
mhm,
am in this, my stage in life, this is what I want to do, and this is where I see us to go. This is where I see us
right,
in the future. And I was
right.
like, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. Because I'm not used to people knowing that information or
Mhm.
even having a conversation about that information. So I was a little taken back because I was like, wait a minute, this man is serious. Okay. So
Right,
let me see what we do. Let me make sure I'm serious. So
right.
yeah,
And that was good that he knew that and that he was able to express that. Now the ball is in your court.
right.
Okay, I've received this information. Now what am I going to do with it? Something else that you want to be mindful of when you are in the vetting process is, what is their relationship like with their family? You want to ask those questions as well. You also want to pay attention to their mannerisms, their behaviors, and continuing to get to know this person, because you can go out with them, say, 2 times, and that's still maybe a mask. So you
Right.
want to see, how are they in every season? for the most part. How do they handle anger? How do they handle, I would always ask, so how do you handle life's situations and challenges? Because I would run into the guy who would shut down and I wouldn't hear from him for like a few days. And then his response was, this happened in my life.
Right.
And I'm thinking, well, is it something I did? What's going on? So I asked, well, how do you handle life's challenges? Do you shut down? Like, what do you do so I can be prepared?
That's good. That's really good. So Melanie Jackson says, I have also learned you have to love yourself before taking on someone else.
Right, you do. Because oftentimes, women will say that I'm not happy anymore with the person. Well, this person, whoever you're with, you should be happy with yourself. This person can enhance your already happiness is how I look at it.
Right.
But you have to truly find out, what do you like? What do you enjoy that truly makes you happy? Because this other person over here is this whole other individual. But what can they bring to your already happiness is like what I like to call it.
Okay. All right. And can you get into a little bit of how you said being a girlfriend and being and transitioning, because we talked about this last week a little bit, and people really, girl, I think we had over 100 and something comments. People really, because I wanted to kind of talk about something different, because people are always talking about the negativity of the relationship and how the man is doing this, the woman's doing that. And I wanted to talk about, how do you transition from that? And if you are single, how do you become the girlfriend? And if you're the girlfriend, how do you become the wife? Can you give us a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's different stages. And, I had to do some self-reflection for myself where I am right now. And so I had to figure out, okay, transitioning from being single to girlfriend, what does that look like? So it starts with your beliefs and your core values.
Yeah.
What are your beliefs and your core values? You can write these down. So when you are, and it goes back to the vetting process. So when you are meeting people, does this person's core values align with mine? It definitely starts there. Once again, that goes back to communication, asking the questions. Okay, so it starts there.
Wait, and before you go to the next one, Twyla, give me an example of the core values that you're talking about.
So your core values could be going back to, for me, for example, my core values are family. I'm big on family. So finding someone, my boyfriend now, he's big on family. So together, those are our core values there. So, writing down those beliefs, that's one example. Okay. So maybe if you're big on family, but the person that you're seeing is not so much, it may not be a total write-off, but you would want to, take that into consideration. Okay. Also, preparing yourself for a relationship that's mental, that's physical, and that's spiritual.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I say physical, I mean, doing self-care when it comes to yoga, exercising. What foods are you eating? All of that is a physical present to get your body right for the relationship, just for yourself, period. For its health, okay?
Yeah,
especially now, I'm 47. So that's part of the core values for me. Do you work out? Because I'm at an age right now where I'm thinking, like in 20 years, I'm going to be in my 60s.
Right.
So I'm asking the questions now. That's part of my core values as well. Exercise.
So, and I'm doing the same thing. We're in this process, we're in this stage of getting to know one another. We're doing that type of thing. And it takes time. But we're also doing some of the things too. So I'll be 47 next month. And we're kind of doing some of the same things. Are we going to work out? What are we going to do? What does that spiritual life look like? Are you a Christian?
Right.
I mean, are you not? I mean, it's okay if you're not, but you have to know these things going in. And I think sometimes we like to compromise a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's where we kind of go wrong at. But yeah, I
Right.
like the mental, the physical, and the spiritual.
And everything that you said is part of your core values. If you are a
Mhm,
Christian, that's your belief, that's your core value. If you're
mhm.
more on the spiritual side, that's your core value. So you want to ask these questions. Once again, it's the conversation, but preparing yourself to be, the girlfriend. So it's asking yourself, am I ready to date?
Mhm.
That's mentally prepared. Am I ready to get back out there and date? Am I ready to be a girlfriend? What kind of girlfriend do I want to be?
Right.
Right. So you have to ask yourself this as you transition to, say, your girlfriend. Now you have to ask yourself, okay, do I want to be a wife? Because for
Mhm.
me, I had already been married before and I
Right.
have two children and they're teenagers and I've been divorced since 2011. So in the
Right.
beginning, I was like, I'm not trying to get married again. I'm good. I find somebody and we can, just be in a long-term relationship for quite some time. I
Mhm.
had no desire to get married, but now I'm in a healthy relationship. It's been 3 years. Now my mindset
Right.
has changed. Okay.
Right. Right.
So it's,
And we
we
can do
just,
that, right?
right, right. But in the beginning, we talked about, you know, is marriage something that you want to do? And so we
Mhm.
had the conversation. That was a question that we asked. And so when we had this conversation for the two of us, we both agreed that marriage was not anything that we wanted to do anytime soon.
Right. Right.
But we know that it will happen. So we agreed on that. That works for
Absolutely.
us. But it's the
That's
fact
good.
that we had the conversation for that. And so you have to ask yourself, well, what type of wife do I want to be now? Because the wife that I was in my 20s, I'm not the same woman anymore. I'm
Mhm.
actually learning how to cook. Whereas before,
Can't
I
cook
was like, okay, cooking is cool, but we ate at his parents' house all the time. So now it's
it.
like
Yeah.
I have to get in there and figure out, okay, I'm learning how to cook now. I'm also taking the time to focus on my financial my investments for myself. That's something I really didn't
Absolutely.
consider when I was married the first time. So
Right.
now I'm in this transition to where what type of wife do I want to be now? What does
Okay.
that look like for me? What does that mean? And so cooking is one. Going back to communication. Before I didn't know how to express myself.
Uh-huh.
Now I do. Now I ask the questions like I do relationship check-ins, or we do anyway. And so
Yeah.
we talk about, how's your day? I actually listen, whereas before
Right.
I didn't listen. So all of these are transitions to becoming the wife that you want to be. But it
Good.
starts with you.
Let me ask you this. So, I think I asked Tony's mom this last week,
Mhm.
because there is a difference. And I think that we kind of blend these two together of being a girlfriend and being a wife.
Oh yeah.
Because then the duties become, I mean, you start to move in, you start to cook, you start to doing all these things, and there's no difference. So can you hit a little bit on that? What do you think about that?
Oh wow, it is. It's kind of like this gray area. I'm still a girlfriend, but we're living together. If that's your dynamic. And
Mm-hmm.
now, am I transitioning to a wife? But I'm really not a wife just yet because I don't have, the title.
Right.
So it becomes the point where it kind of overlaps because you want to show them that you are wife material, but at the same time, do I really want to give all of that to you? I think if you're already living together, then yeah, you just don't have the
Yeah.
paperwork.
Right. Right.
So, I think it's okay to show them that you are ready to be a wife. Now, if you're living together, you're cooking, you're talking about finances, you are, being intimate. So
Right.
it could be where, you're already in that stage of being a wife, you just don't have the actual paperwork. Now, that becomes a question when we talk about wife. Are you okay I guess it becomes, how long do you want to be engaged?
That's true too. I think that sometimes these women, mostly are women, are, saying, hey, it's been 3 years, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years. He hasn't asked me. How do you get to that stage? How do you get to that point to where you go there with him and say, hey, it's time? Like, well, what you waiting on?
Well, if you give a guy an ultimatum, he will probably push back and not be as fast as you would like for him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, that goes back to talking about what it is that you want. If you want to get married and your timeline is that you want to get married in X amount of years, and in the very beginning, he's not saying that, then maybe he's not trying to get married in 5 years and you are. So you might want to find someone that's on your same time frame. Now, the question becomes again, why are you wanting to get married in 5 years? Is it because you want to have children?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for you? If you already have kids, then, you have to ask yourself, what is the sense of urgency to get married again?
Right.
Okay. Why are you wanting to get married now? Because for me, for example, I got married at 25. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I wanted to start a family. Well, now fast forward, I'm 47. So getting married, trying to start a family is not on my things to do at all.
Me neither.
Right. This stage of the game, I'm wanting to get married because I want companionship and not a dog. I want to, be with this person. I want to grow old with this person and enjoy my retirement years with this person. So that is my why for getting married. So you have to ask yourself, why do you want to get married? It depends on the stage in your life, and finding that person that meets you where you are.
That's a good point. That is a good point. And I'm switching gears because I had a question that came in the other day, and it was a little different for me because she asked, she said, I don't believe that my husband is my family. And I think we talked about the Monique interview that she did on Shay Shay's Club Shay Shay.
Okay.
She was talking about her husband is her family. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know this, but she was saying that she never looked at her husband as being her husband because she didn't look at her husband as being family because she just looked at him as her husband because she didn't have a relationship with his kids, his prior kids. Is this man your husband and family? Are people looking at these different? What has been your experience, or what have you heard from people?
So I'm somewhat perplexed about that because I would imagine that you would want to view your husband as part of your family, as well as he would view his wife as part of his family.
Right.
So if that's your husband, you said these vows, you made this commitment to be with this person. So I would imagine in my mindset, I would tell this person, like, that is your family. Meeting his family is your family. Now you're all one big unit.
Even if you don't have a relationship.
Right. So the same way he meets your family, you're all together as a family, dynamic. So I would think, that's looking at your husband and saying, in my opinion, that's looking at your husband and saying, well, that's not my friend. I mean, how? Right. Like if I'm looking, the guy that I'm dating now, that's my best friend. I look at him as that, my friend, my lover, my supporter. So that's how I look at him. So it goes back to, you have to ask yourself, why don't I view this man who I've said these vows as part of my family?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm looking at him as a husband, then what does that mean?
Right. And that's interesting because when she posed the question to me, I thought it was interesting because I automatically assumed that your husband is your family.
Right.
I do. But as having the conversation, she was saying that her mom does the same thing. So I'm guessing that, she's learned this, or this is something that she has learned and seen from her, upbringing and what her parents have done. So Melanie says, I think because we put all our eggs in one basket, example, living together, you're not saving anything for later. I know I'm old school. So there are a lot of people that are old school.
Right.
And then you have, I think it's a mixture of both, because then, like you say, you got people that are living together and doing the thing, but then you get to the point, like Twyla said, you have to be able to communicate and effectively communicate and express yourself of what you want in that relationship. I can remember being in the dating field, and when I got dating chronicles. I should have wrote a book, but men saying, "Hey, we're just gonna see where it's going." And after a while, you start to say, "Well, okay, no, I get that," and then you have to have your own blueprint.
Right.
You have to have your own blueprint of what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate. Do you feel that it's going to take 3 months, 6 months, however you feel, what do you say about that when you're getting to know and they say, well, we just gonna see where it goes?
So you brought up some good points. So, going back to how you view that person. Yeah, first of all, you want to ask yourself, and I wanted to point on that, if she saw that was a learned behavior that she saw from her family, her mom, then we have to ask ourselves too, what types of relationships did we see growing up? Because what you saw growing up is that may be how you think relationships are supposed to be. Right. And that may not always be a good thing. So you have to ask yourself that, okay? But going back to, living together and setting those boundaries up front, that's what you have to do as well. You have to ask them, okay, if we want to get married, is living together the right thing for both of us? Or do I stay in my place and you stay in your place? And then we come together as a unit once we are married to get a place together. Once again, you have to talk about it first.
Right.
Okay. Then you have to say, okay, well, if we're going to live together, then what does the timeline look for us to get married? Once again, you have to have that conversation. Now, if it changes in between, once you guys have started living together and you both agreed on 2 years, and after 2 years you would get married and things change, now you have to reevaluate some things.
And that's good, because like you said, you like to have in your relationship, you have these check-ins. Look, where are we at? Where are we going? And are we still on the same page? That's really good, because I think a lot of people are just going and not really checking in and thinking that they're still on the same page when they don't even or they moved in and they see how you don't even clean the house. They see how you don't do this, or, what have you, and they don't want to marry you. So, they're not telling you that, but then also it's very key, like you said, the communication. But I think a lot of times people forget that we're dealing with another person and their feelings and how they're not really necessarily communicating those things to you for whatever reason, for whatever their motive is. Because I don't want to get out of the relationship. Say, for instance, he really doesn't want to marry you, but he can't get out of the relationship because he ain't got nowhere to go. So he's just tolerating you or whatever, whatever. It could be vice versa, but yeah.
So you have to, once again, effectively communicating. I know I keep saying this over and over again, but you have to have these conversations. You have to talk about, okay, why do we want to get married? The timing on when we want to get married. What does that look like? And before you do all of this, you need to see this person go through all of the different seasons in their life. And when I say that, how do they handle life? How do they handle maybe some type of death in the family? How do they handle any type of financial issues? How do they handle maybe any type of health issues? You want to be able to see all of this before you're like, okay, I'm ready to go to the next level.
And it may take a while to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it may take a while. It may not be, 3 months, 6 months, or whatever. It may take a year, like you say,
Right,
the whole season, to
right,
see somebody,
right,
see some of this stuff.
right.
So, if you're online, if you have any questions for Twyla, um, like I said, she's professional, certified in her field. And I just wanted to absolutely bring her on because she's such a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for giving us this information. Thank you for giving us more tips. Do you have anything else that you want to add? We still have time. If anybody has any questions, do you have anything, Twyla, that you want to add?
I would say the biggest thing is when it comes to relationships, whether you're single, in a relationship now, dating, what is your vision? Ask yourself, what is your vision? Um, have your own vision board party. Journaling. I'm
Oh,
big on journaling. Write down
yeah.
what it is that you want. Write down, what your vision for your relationship is like. What do you want that to be? Okay. And
Mhm.
then you also want to write down, what do you want in a partner? And I'm not talking about 6 feet, 6 figures, 6 inches. I'm not talking about that. Like, stop.
Right.
Please. No.
Right. Can we stop? Can we get past that?
Stop. Please stop. Just don't. You want to write down 3 things. It doesn't need to be a laundry list. Just three
Okay.
things. What you truly want in a person, their character, their type of the personality, whatever that is, just 3 characteristics. And
Uh-huh.
don't make them about the physical feature either. We get so caught up on the physical. It's 3 things. Okay. Write that down. Also, I'm big on, affirmations. I tell my clients this. Affirmations are key. Affirmations are good when you're single, but you also want to say affirmations over your relationship
Wow.
and say the affirmations together with your
Mm.
partner. Okay. We are deserving of a healthy relationship. We
Mhm.
are deserving of love. We are
Absolutely.
deserving of passion. You want to say all that. That's affirming the relationship. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say another tip is continuing to learn your partner. As you
Mhm.
are in a relationship, never stop learning them. Always
Mhm.
wanting to learn, desire your partner, showing the gratitude, showing the appreciation. And if you
Right.
are going to go from girlfriend to wife, ask yourself these questions. Why do I want to be this person's wife? You know,
Mhm.
what is my purpose for being a wife?
Right.
Ask yourself, am I ready mentally to be a
Mhm.
girlfriend? What type of girlfriend do I want to be?
Right.
Asking yourself this, okay? Have that heart to heart conversation with yourself. Um,
Awesome.
so, those are my tips. Those are my biggest tips, especially for the women out there. And something else, too, that I just
Okay.
thought about words are powerful. So,
Mhm.
a lot of times I'll hear women say this and I'll read this: the dating pool is trash. The dating pool has
Wow.
in it. There are no good men out there. Um, that's negative energy. And
Mhm.
you put that out there in the universe. So instead of saying the dating pool has pee in it, you would want to say the person that is out there is for me. The right person that is
The
out there
right
in
one.
the dating pool is for me. You want to change up the narrative. Instead of saying there are no good men out there, you want to say there are good men out there and there is a good man for me.
Okay.
I am deserving of a good man. I am deserving of a healthy relationship. And then what you want to do is place yourself in certain situations to where you can find that person.
Uh-huh.
You can't just be at home saying this and then expect for him to just show up at your door.
Well, I think a lot of people do think that they're gonna show up at the door because they don't want to get out. They are afraid to get back into the pool. And I like what you said because you and I were talking before we started, and I was saying, I wanted to get away from the negative conversations that people have, And what is positive? What can we see? What can we do about the positive relationships? Because there's a lot of people that have healthy relationships. There's a lot of people that have healthy marriages. There's a lot of people that are happy in their marriages, you know. So I think that sometimes we get around these people, or we're scrolling and we're just reading this stuff, and all of that stuff is just coming in, and it's messing with our mindset. And another thing that I wanted to bring up was, you said about the physical. It's not so much about the physical. And I wanted to bring that up because even in my current relationship, I had to think about the mindset. My mindset had to change. Again, we're not in our 20s anymore. We're not in our 30s. We're pushing 50, you know, and my mindset can't be just on looks, can't just be on sex, it can't just be on shopping, that type of thing, because now we got to focus on our relationship, or if we're going to get married, or your finances, like you mentioned. Are you going to, you know, do the finance things, and how are you going to retire, and are you going to grow old with this person? I think that for me was a big conversation that I had. I was very, very honest in this relationship from get-go. And I told him, I said, listen, you're not the type of person that I would normally date. You don't look like the person that I would normally date. You're very kind. You're all, like you mentioned, all those characteristics, those three characteristics. You have all of these characteristics, but somewhere I got to deal with myself, because now I'm sitting back and I'm like, I can't fumble the bag, because this is a really good man. But am I going to let this go because, you know, my the things that I think that I should want in this particular relationship are at this stage? You know what I mean? And I think a lot of women do that. You know, like you said, he's not 6 feet tall, so I don't really want to date him. And so I had to really work on myself in that sense.
I would agree. And, you know, it's not, so two things. It's not settling at all. Okay. It is finding someone who is compatible with you. It's finding someone who enhances your happiness. It's finding someone who is supportive. It's finding someone where you have this chemistry and this connection. It's finding that person that, you know, makes you laugh and you can be silly, you know, and goofy. It's building a friendship. Okay. Let's just start there. And then I had to ask myself, okay, why am I always attracting the same guy? The same guy may not physically look the same. Right. It was the same type of man. And I was a common denominator. So that is when I had to truly step back and, you know, do some true self-reflection and ask myself, like, well, what is it about me that makes me attract this type of guy over here? You know? And so once I did all of that, and once I just had this heart-to-heart talk with myself, and it wasn't overnight, I had to, you know, like I said, write some things down and, you know, get myself together. And then it was like, okay, the person that I'm with now, completely, like you said, completely different than the type of men that I have dated before. And it, you know, the physical appearance is not what I'm used to. And that's not saying that he is, he's I love him, you know. So it's not saying, okay, well, he is unattractive, because that's not it at all. When we look at physical, we always think, and this was me, I was like, I want a guy that's like 6'5" and this, that. Like, no, not at all. So, you know, the person that I'm with now, he brings all of this out of me. He's supportive. He's kind, he's nice, completely opposite of the people that I have dated in the past, okay? Then also I wanted to bring up the fact that I see women who say they don't need a man. Pause on that, because when you say you don't need a man, then once again, words are powerful. So if you say you don't need a man, then you are saying you won't need one, you may not get one. Right.
Exactly.
Now, I would say you want to say, I think we do. Well, for me, I'll speak on myself. I do need a man, but most importantly, I need the right man. And
Right.
so, I tell him all the time, I need you. I
Right.
do. It's like
And
Patti
they want
LaBelle's
to
song, Love, Need, and Want You by Patti LaBelle. So,
hear
yes.
that.
So
And
you
the
have
men,
to,
men want to hear that too.
right. And you have to
Yeah.
be mindful of that when you say, I don't need a man.
Yeah.
Okay. You keep telling yourself that. You keep putting that
Mhm.
out there in the universe.
Right.
And you can sit back and ask yourself, well, why is it that I don't have anybody?
Right.
Yeah. So
It's
understand
absolutely
words
like
are
you
powerful.
said. Right. Like you said, it's a lot of self-reflection. Melanie just wrote that down. Great word, self-reflection. It is a lot of self-reflection that I think that a lot of people are not um, doing. I think that they think, like from the beginning of what we talked about, they think that they're ready for this dating and they think they know how to date and they think they're ready, but then they haven't really self-reflect because they think nothing's wrong with them. They think everything's wrong with the other person.
Right. And
And the
holding yourself
relationship,
accountable too.
girl, somebody write that in the chat. Accountability.
Mhm.
I think that that's a big word that nobody wants to be held accountable.
Right.
Nobody wants to
I
be held
totally
accountable.
agree.
Right.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I like that what you said was um, we're not settling when you do those things. You're not settling.
Mhm. You
You're
are
not settling because I
right.
think a lot of people think that if they don't get what they want, they're actually settling. So yeah, you're not settling. Thank you, Eliana and Melanie. Accountability is big. So
Yes.
I really
Yes.
appreciate
Yes. And you are
it.
not settling. Okay. You
Yeah.
are meeting the person who checks off these other boxes. And it goes back to, are you guys compatible? It goes back to their personality, their characteristics. Don't always, focus on the 6 feet. Six,
Right. Six
like,
inches.
come on, come on. And once
Yeah.
again, like at the stage where we are, that is not, that's not my priority. Okay.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now at this stage, you want somebody that you can grow with, somebody that you can build with, somebody that you can
Right.
travel with, those types of things,
Right.
and enjoy life. We're at the second quarter,
Right.
and that's where we want to be. So, does anyone have any questions as we wrap this up? Thank you so much, Twyla,
Oh,
for
yes.
bringing all these good points. I really appreciate it, and you left us with a lot of nuggets, girl. Did she not leave us with a lot of nuggets? She left us with a lot of nuggets. So I really appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask as far as relationship, as far as intimacy? She is a sexologist therapist, so she is in that professional field. So she does know what she's talking about. Does anyone have any questions with that before
Ask,
we go?
ask.
Tell us
So,
where we can see you at, Twyla. Where can we get more
yeah,
information? Where can we find your content and stuff?
sure. You can find me on Instagram at twilab.goode. So that's TWILA B.goode. You can also go to my website at twilabgood.com and subscribe to the blog, subscribe to the website for my sex tips. Look on there and see the type of classes that I have right here in the Dallas area. And then I also have online coaching. And so if you're interested in that, please let me know, message me, email me. But this was a fun and exciting show. I would just like to say, oh, next time let's touch on seasoned ladies.
60 and up.
That's a great topic. That's a great market because
Wow.
what I'm realizing is that as we get older, and if you're single, you're looking for that companionship too. Uh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so how can you navigate these waters to find the person that is for you at this age now? Once again, that's a different season. And
Mhm.
so I would love to definitely to talk about that. 60 plus, yes, great market. And I think a lot of times that market gets left out.
Yeah, because we think they're not doing it.
Oh, then they're doing it more than we are. Let me tell you, getting it in. Getting
Yeah.
getting it in.
He
Yeah.
says, I'm so late. I'm so late. So this may have been asked, but how do you get your partner to open up sexually?
Oh wow. So that goes back to having conversation and talking about first of all, if you want to try something new, you want to compliment them first and say, I like, when we do this, I like how you touch me here. I really love it when we are in this position. And then you can go in to say, I really want to try this. What do you think about doing this right here? Now, as you're having this conversation, the person that's on the receiving end, they need to be mindful of not to have any type of judgment, not to
Right.
say, well, why you want to do that? Like,
Right.
I'm not doing that, or where you learn that from, So you want to be aware as you are receiving this message to have an open mind and to say, let's
Right.
learn together. If it's a hard no, you could say, well, let's explore together. I don't know much about it, or I think I may be interested in it. I'm not sure, but let's figure it out together. Let's educate ourselves together so you can navigate those waters to the next level when it comes to trying something new in the bedroom.
So James says this is more someone who was made to feel inadequate in the past. How do you get them to open up where there may not be necessarily, I'm assuming that he's saying confident, and they may have feel like they, not necessarily have the confidence. How do you get them to open up sexually? That is going to be the same.
It would be the same. I'm guessing if this is him, and so they just learned to shut down. So there's some trauma. Okay. So if there's some trauma there, then that needs to be, once again, a conversation had when it comes to sexual traumas, going back to when we are at the beginning stages of dating. As you are learning that person, opening up, saying, if I experience these traumas, I'm going to therapy. If this person is not going to therapy, I would suggest that they do go to therapy, talking to each other about what those triggers are. So the other person knows what not to do. So, they don't want to open up these triggers to this other person.
Right.
Once again, it's that conversation to say, I've had some type of trauma in the past. This is what's happened to me. This is what my triggers are. Now this person has that information. Now, now they need to navigate this water as well. Now I have this information. Now what?
Right.
So I would, suggest that the two of them go to therapy together so they can learn together. I have met couples where one party has had some type of sexual trauma and they shut down. Right. And the other person is looking defeated and they don't know what to do now. So now it's like, we need to go to therapy together so I can learn how to navigate this journey with you. Especially if the other person has never encountered that and it hadn't happened to them before.
Right. And I think I have a recent friend that is currently dealing with that situation. And I think on the man's part, it's very hard because they are not opening up. The men are trying to ask the questions, because men want to know, how do I fix this? Right. What do I say? What do I do? And they're doing their very best to do that. But then at the same time, they're like, well, I don't want to talk about it. Or and we have to get somewhere, like you said, get somewhere, get some therapy, get some help. And we have to be able to communicate with one another. And ask, like I said, there's some things that I had to tell Tony. I was like, look, I don't feel comfortable talking about it, but give me some time. And then we'll come back to the conversation. I don't necessarily leave him hanging, but we'll come back to the conversation. So those are the things that you really have to do. And like James said, I think I hit it on the head. that they're asking the right questions and they're trying to, make them feel comfortable and stuff like that. And these women are not budging. They're like, we can't. Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. And a lot of times it's the men that's reaching out, booking the services, booking the coaching sessions, and they're like, I'm trying. I don't know what else to do. And they look so defeated. And so I will say, men are really trying. They are wanting to save their relationship. They're wanting to work things out and figure out what can they do. And oftentimes what happens is the women will say they don't open up, or they'll make a blanket statement and say, he doesn't know my body. What does that mean?
Right.
What is, I don't know what you mean.
Or they'll say, I don't want to teach him. Or I don't want to teach him. I don't want to.
Right. And I'm like, why would you tell him that? And so, I'll tell him, I'll say, and I've made this post before. I say, if you can open up your mouth and give him head, you should be able to open up your mouth and tell him what's wrong with you. You should be able to open up your mouth and tell him what you like, what you don't like. Like, I don't understand that. And then they get upset when they say, well, he's not talking to me. Well, when he tried, you didn't give him any answers. Right.
And I know we're about to wrap it up, but I wanted to,
I said, oh, yes, we are. It was getting good.
If anybody has any more questions, please feel free to ask your questions and we'll get them answered. But the one thing that I was going to say is that, I really love the fact that you like you said, you gave us some great nuggets. But what I wanted to talk about was, tell us about, because I haven't been able to come, but tell us about the place that you go and you teach your clients. The room that you got, the sex room or something you got over there, girl. What is that?
Yes, so it is the Red Room. So when I have my intimacy classes, they are held in person, and it's located downtown Dallas, and it's a very sensual and erotic space, okay? So when you walk in, a lot of times people are like, oh my, what have I gotten myself into? Yeah. But we have erotic art on the wall. We have kink toys, BDSM toys throughout the establishment. So when you come in for a class, we have wine and food. We sit and we talk. And then we go and I show you how to touch your partner. I show you how to build that connection. I show you how to create this sensual energy, because we are in a sensual setting. Right. Which is what I like to talk about when it comes to good sex. Is your room inviting? So this particular space gives you some ideas on how you can make your room very sensual and very sexual and naughty. So it gives you an idea. But yeah, you got to come out, check it out. It's the whole vibe. The energy is there. It's very, very, very erotic. Very cute. Yeah, very sexy.
Nice. So how often do you have those classes?
For the classes, I usually do private classes, and those are when, couples decide to book the private classes. They would be about twice a month. Okay. So yeah, I normally do a lot of coaching sessions online now, but for the actual in-person classes, I have those about twice a month. And I also offer group classes as well. So if it's you and some other friends and you guys want to come out and hang out and have a great time, I teach how to ride, fellatio, how to touch. Yeah. Yeah, I teach all of that. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. We have learned a lot. You've given us a lot of nuggets from transitioning from girlfriend to wife. You've given us five key points for a successful relationship. You've given us that. I mean, you have dropped it, girl, beyond the glitter. We done got down and dirty with it. Okay.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Until next time, you guys, we will continue on with our series for transitioning from a girlfriend to a wife. We'll continue the series throughout February. I did not have the show yesterday because it was Valentine's and I just thought everybody was busy with that. So I kind of moved it to today, but we will resume back on Wednesdays at 7:00. All right. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night. Bye-bye.